Before time had a beginning, before the first star ignited the darkness, before the universe as we know it even existed, there was heaven, a realm of pure light, of perfect harmony, where beings of unimaginable power and beauty served the eternal, uncreated God. This was a place beyond our comprehension, a symphony of existence playing out in perfect unison. But this perfect peace was not destined to last. A discord was about to be introduced, a single note of defiance that would shatter the harmony and set in motion a conflict that echoes through eternity. Heaven, the realm of absolute peace, was about to go to war. Now, when we think of a war involving heaven, our minds often turn to stories of gods versus mortals, or a struggle over the fate of humanity. But this first, ultimate war was not against humanity, for we had not yet been conceived in the mind of the Creator. It was not a battle against creation itself, because the mountains and seas were still just a thought waiting to be spoken into being. This was something far more fundamental, far more terrifying. This was a war against God Himself, a rebellion not from without, but from within, a schism that threatened to tear apart the very fabric of existence from its source. Imagine the audacity, the sheer scale of such a conflict, a challenge directed at the very author of reality. The architect of this rebellion was no monster born of shadow. He was, in fact, the most brilliant of all, an angel of light, a being so magnificent, so close to the throne of God, that his radiance was second only to the Creator's. He was known as Lucifer, the light-bearer, the morning star. He walked among the stones of fire, adorned with every precious gem. But within this perfect vessel, a seed of pride took root. He looked at his own glory, his own wisdom, and instead of reflecting the light of his Maker, he desired it for himself. He made a choice. He turned away from the infinite source of light and embraced the shadow of his own ambition. In that singular moment of defiance, the perfect harmony of heaven was broken, and from that point on, heaven would never be the same. As Lucifer's rebellion swelled, as a third of the heavenly host were swayed by his charismatic pride, heaven faced a crisis. The Creator, in his infinite wisdom, could have simply willed the rebellion to end. But this was a matter of will, of loyalty, of love freely given. It had to be met. As the darkness of this uprising threatened to consume the light, one powerful voice rose in defiance of the first rebel. While Lucifer sought to exalt himself, this other archangel sought only to defend the honor of his God. He was not the most beautiful, nor the most adorned, but his will was forged in pure, unyielding loyalty. Clad in celestial armor, wielding a sword of divine flame, he unfurled his mighty wings and prepared to stand against his own brother. He would not allow the throne of heaven to be usurped. Only one angel stood in his way. His name was Michael. His name, Michael, was not just a name, it was a battle cry. In the ancient tongue, it poses a question, a direct challenge to the pride of the rebel angel, who is like God. It's a rhetorical question that carries its own answer. No one. This declaration became the rallying cry for the loyal angels, a banner of truth against the lies of pride. Michael led the charge, not for his own glory, but for the glory of the one who is incomparable. This was the first rebellion, the primordial war, that set the stage for the cosmic drama we are all a part of. The story of light versus dark, pride versus humility, rebellion versus loyalty. And the echo of that first cosmic battle, that first defiant choice, still shapes your world today, in ways you might not even realize. It's a story that continues to unfold within nations and within every human heart. Thank you for watching. If you're fascinated by the deep lore and ancient stories that shape our understanding of the world, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We have so much more to explore together. See you in the next video. Have you ever wondered about the origin of evil? Not as a concept, but as a being. The story often begins with a name whispered in hushed tones, Lucifer. But to truly understand, we must go back to a time before shadows, to a realm of pure light. In the beginning, Lucifer was not a creature of darkness. He was a masterpiece. Imagine a being forged from the very essence of dawn, a celestial entity of unimaginable splendor. In the heavenly hierarchy, he was among the highest, a seraph of breathtaking beauty and formidable intelligence. His name itself, Lucifer, means light-bearer or morning star. He wasn't just another angel. He was a beacon, a reflection of divine glory, created perfect, wise, and powerful. His wings weren't just for flight. They were woven with starlight and wisdom, a testament to his creator's artistry. He was a symphony of light and sound, a leader among the angelic hosts. The angels of heaven don't operate on faith as we do. Their knowledge of God isn't a belief. It's a direct, intuitive understanding. They perceive the divine essence through pure intellect, a constant, unobscured vision of truth and reality. For them, God's existence is as certain as their own. Lucifer, being one of the most intelligent, possessed this knowledge in its most profound form. He saw the grand design, understood the cosmic order, and knew his place within it. His service was not born of blind obedience, but of clear, unclouded comprehension. He walked in the full light of God's presence, bathing in a reality that we can only glimpse through prayer and scripture. There was no doubt, no uncertainty, only the pure, unfiltered truth of being. But within this perfection, a thought took root, a single, dangerous idea. Lucifer, the light-bearer, looked at his own brilliance. He saw his wisdom, his beauty, his power, and a subtle shift occurred. The reflection he admired began to eclipse the source of the light itself. Service, once a joy born of understanding, began to feel like a limitation. He who stood so close to the throne began to wonder why he wasn't on it. He didn't just want to reflect the light. He wanted to be the source. The thought of being second, of being a creation and not the creator, started to fester. He craved not just honor, but adoration. He desired equality, a status that was never his to claim. This desire, this seed of pride, began to poison his perfect nature. It was a choice, a deliberate turning away from the source of his being. He started to see his creator not as a loving father, but as a rival, a cosmic tyrant holding him back. This internal rebellion began to cast a shadow, a darkness that had never before existed in the celestial realm. He gathered others to his cause, whispering promises of freedom and self-determination to a third of the angelic host. He painted a picture of a universe where they could be their own gods, a cosmos free from the tyranny of absolute good. He used his brilliant intellect not to serve, but to subvert. He used his charisma not to unite, but to divide. Heaven, once a place of perfect harmony, was now on the brink of civil war. The choice was made. The line was drawn. With the infamous declaration, "I will not serve." Lucifer sealed his fate and the fate of those who followed him. This was not a simple act of disobedience. It was a fundamental rejection of reality itself. It was the creature attempting to usurp the creator. The resulting conflict was not a battle of swords and shields, but a cataclysmic war of wills, a clash of cosmic principles. Light against self-made darkness, humility against pride, love against ego. The result was inevitable. There can be no rival to the absolute. The rebellion was crushed. And so, Lucifer fell, not just from a place, but from a state of being. He was cast out of heaven, and his fall was like lightning, a brilliant, terrible spectacle. The light-bearer became the prince of darkness. His name, once a symbol of morning light, became synonymous with rebellion and ruin. The beauty that inspired pride twisted into a grotesque parody of its former glory. The wisdom that understood the divine was now used to deceive and destroy. He and his followers were exiled to a realm of their own, making a state of being defined by the absence of God, a kingdom of shadow, despair, and eternal separation. His new name, Satan, means the adversary, a title he earned and embodies. This fall wasn't just a celestial drama. It had profound implications for us. The pride that caused Lucifer's downfall is the same temptation that humanity faces. The story of Eden is a tragic echo of this heavenly rebellion. The serpent, Satan, comes to humanity with the same lie he told himself. You will be like God. He tempts us with the illusion of self-sufficiency, with the idea that we can be the authors of our own truth, the masters of our own destiny, separate from our Creator. He offers knowledge not for wisdom, but for power. He offers freedom not from bondage, but from goodness itself. And just as in heaven, this choice has consequences. The fall of Lucifer is a timeless and sobering warning. It teaches us that the greatest evil is not some external monster, but a corruption that begins within. It starts with pride, with the subtle belief that we know better, that our will should be supreme. It's the voice that whispers we don't need grace, we don't need redemption, we are enough on our own. Have you ever wondered about the greatest conflict that ever took place? Not a war fought on earth with tanks and soldiers, but a war in the heart of heaven itself. It's a story told in just a few powerful verses in the book of Revelation, a moment that forever changed the universe. It describes a war that broke out in heaven. Imagine that for a second. The one place we think of as perfect peace suddenly becomes a battlefield. This wasn't a small disagreement, it was an all-out war. On one side, Michael and his angels. On the other, a figure known as the dragon. This dragon wasn't always a monster. The scriptures tell us he was once Lucifer, the light bearer, one of the most magnificent angels ever created, adorned with every precious stone, a guardian cherub of immense beauty and wisdom. Ezekiel 28 says of him, "You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom, and perfect in beauty." He walked among the fiery stones of God's holy mountain. But something dark began to grow in his heart. Pride. He saw his own beauty, his own wisdom, and he wasn't content to reflect God's glory anymore. He wanted that glory for himself. Isaiah 14 gives us a chilling glimpse into his thoughts. I will ascend to heaven. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will make myself like the Most High. That was his fatal mistake. He desired to be the creator, not the created. This pride festered into rebellion, transforming the light bearer into a great fiery red dragon, the adversary, Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He wasn't alone in his rebellion. The Bible says the dragon's tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. These stars are understood to be the angels. An almost unimaginable number of heavenly beings made a choice. They chose to follow Lucifer in his rebellion against their creator. Why would they do this? It's a profound mystery. Perhaps they were swayed by his charisma, his power, his promises of greater glory. They were presented with a choice, to serve in love or to reign in pride, and they made their choice. It was a final, irreversible decision. They were cast out of heaven, along with their leader, their glorious forms twisted by their rebellion. They became fallen angels, demons, forever bound to the path of darkness they had chosen. Their fall from heaven wasn't just a change of location. It was a fundamental change in their very nature. Facing this rebellion was the Archangel Michael. His name in Hebrew, Michael, is a question, who is like God. This wasn't a boast. It was a battle cry. It was the declaration of truth that countered Lucifer's lie. While Lucifer fought with pride, seeking to elevate himself, Michael fought with humility, defending God's honor. He didn't rely on his own strength, even as a mighty archangel. He stood on the authority and power of God himself. Jude verse 9 tells us that even when disputing with the devil about the body of Moses, Michael did not dare to bring a slanderous accusation against him, but said, "The Lord rebuke you." This shows his complete reliance on God. The battle was fierce, a clash of light against darkness, truth against deception, but the outcome was never in doubt. The dragon and his angels fought, but they were not strong enough. There was no longer any place for them in heaven. They were hurled down. This heavenly war has profound implications for us. The conflict didn't end when Satan was cast out of heaven. It just moved to a new battlefield, Earth. Revelation 12 says the dragon was enraged and went off to wage war against those who keep God's commands and hold to the testimony of Jesus. We live in the midst of this spiritual conflict every single day. The same lies that caused Lucifer as follow are whispered to us. You can be your own God. You don't need to listen to anyone. Your own wisdom is enough. We face a constant barrage of temptations, doubts, and deceptions from an enemy who is described as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. He is the father of lies, the accuser of the brethren, and he works tirelessly to separate us from God's love. But the story doesn't end with the dragon's rage. Just as Michael stood firm in heaven, we are not left to fight this battle alone. We have been given spiritual armor, the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, the shield of faith to extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. And most importantly, we have the same weapon that guaranteed Michael's victory, the truth of who God is. We have the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. Our hope isn't in our own strength, but in the finished work of Jesus Christ on the cross. He has already defeated the enemy. The war for our souls has already been won. The dragon's power is limited, and his time is short. He has been judged, and his ultimate destiny is sealed. So when we feel the pressures of the world, the whispers of doubt, or the sting of temptation, we can remember the war in heaven. We can remember that pride leads to a fall, but humility and reliance on God lead to victory. We can stand firm, knowing that the one who is in us is greater than the one who is in the world. The same God who empowered Michael empowers us. The conflict is real, but so is our victory in Christ. We are not fighting for victory. We are fighting from victory. Every tear will be wiped away, and the light of God will shine forever, unhindered by the shadows of rebellion. Have you ever wondered about the names we carry? Some are heirlooms passed down through generations. Others are chosen for their sound, their rhythm, their simple beauty. But some names are declarations. They are statements of purpose, cries of defiance, banners unfurled in the face of eternity. Michael Michel. It's more than just a name. It's a question, a challenge that echoes through the corridors of time and space, a question that carries the weight of cosmic history. In its original Hebrew, Michael means, who is like God. It's not a question born of curiosity, but a rhetorical one, a definitive, unshakable statement of truth. Imagine the scene, not on a stage of wood and curtains, but on a canvas of stars and nebulae, in a time before time as we know it. A rebellion brewed in the heart of perfection, a being of immense light and beauty. Lucifer, a light-bearer, decided that he could be his own God. He sought to ascend, to place his throne above the stars, to make himself like the Most High. In that moment of cosmic treason, when a third of the heavenly hosts were swayed by this prideful ambition, one voice rose in opposition. It wasn't a long speech or a complex argument. It was a name, Michael, a warrior's cry that cut through the deception, who was like God. It was a declaration of loyalty, a rallying point for the faithful. It was the truth that shattered the rebellion. That simple, profound question exposed the lie at the heart of the uprising. There is none like God. And with that truth as his weapon, Michael, the great archangel, commander of the heavenly armies, stood against the dragon. The battle that ensued is almost beyond our human comprehension. It wasn't fought with steel or fire as we understand them, but with will, with truth, and with divine power. The book of Revelation gives us a glimpse, and war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought, but they did not prevail. Nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. The great dragon, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world, was cast out. He was cast down, hurled into the darkness he had chosen, and his angels with him. A great victory was won. A shout of triumph echoed through the heavens. Now salvation, and strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Christ have come. The war ended in heaven, but not in creation. The battlefield shifted, the defeated foe, full of wrath, knowing his time is short, turned his attention elsewhere. He could no longer challenge God directly, so he aimed his malice at the pinnacle of God's physical creation, humanity. The war didn't end, it just moved. The grand cosmic stage of heaven was traded for the fragile, beautiful, blue-green orb we call Earth. The battleground became the human heart, the human mind, the human soul. The conflict between light and shadow, truth and deception, obedience and rebellion, now plays out within us and around us. We are born into this conflict. We walk through a world where light and shadow coexist, where whispers of doubt mingle with songs of faith. This is the great story we find ourselves in. It's not just an ancient myth, it's our present reality. The same questions are being asked, the same choices are being made. Will we listen to the serpent's whisper that we can be like gods, defining our own truth, living by our own rules? Or will we stand with Michael and declare that there is none like God? This choice is the central drama of human existence. Let's look closer at this cosmic shift. When Satan was cast down to earth, he didn't arrive with horns and a pitchfork, announcing his intentions. His methods are far more subtle, far more insidious. He is called the deceiver of the whole world for a reason. He works through lies, half-truths, and twisted ideologies. He preys on our pride, our fear, our desires, and our wounds. He sows discord, confusion, and despair. The conflict isn't always a dramatic, visible showdown. More often, it's a quiet battle fought in the privacy of our own thoughts. It's the choice to forgive or to hold a grudge. The choice to speak truth or to spread gossip. The choice to act with love or to retreat into selfishness. Every day we stand on this battlefield. Every decision we make is a move in this spiritual chess match. And we are not alone. Just as Michael and his angels fought in heaven, they are still engaged in this ongoing war on our behalf. The Bible speaks of angels as ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation. Daniel, the prophet, received a vision, and the angelic messenger who came to him explained that he had been resisted by the prince of the kingdom of Persia for 21 days, until Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help him. This gives us a stunning look behind the curtain of reality, revealing a spiritual conflict that directly impacts the events on earth. Michael is depicted not just as a historical figure from a one-time battle, but as a continuing defender of God's people. In the book of Jude, there's another fascinating mention of Michael. He's described as contending with the devil, disputing about the body of Moses. Even in this direct confrontation, Michael did not dare to bring a reviling accusation against Satan, but simply said, "The Lord rebuke you." This is incredibly telling. Michael's power doesn't come from himself. His strength isn't in his own might or his own clever insults. His authority rests entirely in his alignment with God. His ultimate weapon is deferring to the Lord. This is a profound lesson for us. In our own struggles against darkness and temptation, our strength isn't found in our own willpower or cleverness. It's found in calling upon the name of the Lord. It's found in saying, "The Lord rebuke you." It's found in humbly aligning ourselves with God's truth and God's power. So what does this ancient story, this cosmic war, mean for you and me, living in the 21st century? It means everything. It means that our lives have an epic significance. Your personal struggles are not meaningless. They are part of a much larger narrative. Your choices matter, not just for your own life, but for the world around you. When you choose love over hate, hope over despair, truth over lies, you are not just making a personal decision. You are pushing back the darkness. You are taking a stand on the battlefield. You are, in your own way, echoing Michael's cry, "Who is like God?" This understanding can be empowering. It reframes our difficulties, that struggle with addiction, that battle with anxiety, that challenge to maintain integrity at work. These are not just personal failings, they are front lines in a spiritual war. And knowing this means we can access a different kind of strength. We don't have to fight alone. We can call for heavenly backup. We can arm ourselves with the same weapon Michael used, the truth of who God is. The Bible calls this putting on the full armor of God, the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, the shoes of the gospel of peace, the shield of faith, the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. This isn't just poetic language. It's a practical strategy for spiritual warfare. Each piece represents a truth about God that protects us and empowers us. The shield of faith, for example, is what extinguishes all the flaming arrows of the evil one. What are those flaming arrows? They are lies. Lies like you're not good enough, you're all alone, God doesn't care about you, there's no hope. Faith is the shield that deflects these lies by holding on to the truth of God's promises. The story of Michael began with a declaration, and it calls us to make our own. The war that began in heaven now rages for the hearts of humanity. Every single day presents us with a choice. Will we believe the lies of the enemy who is cast down, the father of lies? Or will we align ourselves with the truth, the unchanging reality of God's goodness, power, and love? The name Michael reminds us that the ultimate victory has already been secured through Christ, and our role is to stand firm in that victory. It's to live out the answer to that cosmic question in our daily lives. So, the next time you face a struggle, a temptation, or a moment of despair, remember the Archangel, remember his name, remember his cry that shattered a rebellion. Let it be your cry too. Look the darkness in the face and declare the truth that sets us free. Who is like God? There is no one, and in that truth, you will find your strength, your purpose, and your victory. Have you ever wondered about the stories that didn't make it into the final cut of history? The tales whispered in the shadows, deemed too dangerous, too controversial for the masses? We often hear about the great war in heaven, about Lucifer's fall, a rebellion of pride that cost a third of the heavenly host their place by the throne of God. They were cast out, their choice sealed, their fate a cautionary tale for eternity. But what if I told you that wasn't the only fall? What if there was another, a different kind of rebellion, born not of pride, but of something far more intimate, far more human? Humanity, in its fragile and beautiful creation, was offered a gift, a path that those fallen angels lost forever. It's a path woven with three powerful threads: repentance, the chance to turn back; redemption, the opportunity to be bought back from our mistakes; and grace, the undeserved favor that makes it all possible. This is the cornerstone of our spiritual journey. The promise that no matter how far we stray, the door back home is never truly locked. It's a profound mystery, a divine love story written into the fabric of our existence. But this very gift, this unique relationship between humanity and the divine, became a source of fascination and ultimately, a temptation for beings who were supposed to be above it all. Imagine a group of angels, celestial beings of immense power and knowledge, tasked with a sacred duty. They were the Watchers, sent to observe, to guide, to protect humanity from afar. They stood as silent sentinels, witnessing the dawn of civilization, the first fires, the first words, the first prayers. They saw our struggles, our triumphs, our capacity for both incredible love and devastating cruelty. They were meant to be separate, to remain purely spiritual, observers in the grand cosmic play. But something shifted. Proximity bred curiosity. Curiosity bred desire. The line between observer and participant began to blur. Ancient texts, some lost to time, others deliberately hidden and burned, speak of this second, secret fall. These aren't the stories you hear in Sunday school. These are fragmented, cryptic, and deeply unsettling accounts. They hint at a transgression that was not a direct challenge to God's authority in heaven, but a violation of the sacred boundary between the celestial and the terrestrial. It was a fall not into the abyss of hell, but down to earth. Into the very heart of the human world they were meant to only watch over. What could possibly compel an angel, a being of light, to abandon its post, to forsake its nature, and to descend? The story is pieced together from forbidden writings, from symbols that have puzzled scholars for centuries. These angels, the Watchers, saw the daughters of men and were captivated by their beauty, their passion, their mortality. They made a pact, a sworn oath on a mountain peak, to defy divine law. They descended, not as warriors or messengers, but as suitors. They chose to cross a forbidden line, to share in the human experience in the most intimate way possible. They taught humanity forbidden knowledge secrets of the heavens, the arts of war, the crafts of adornment, and sorcery. They weren't just watching anymore. They were interfering, accelerating human development in ways that were never intended. This single act of rebellion unleashed a torrent of consequences. The union of angel and human gave rise to a new race of beings, the Nephilim, giants of immense strength and voracious appetite who walked the earth, their very existence a perversion of the natural order. The knowledge imparted by the Watchers, once a forbidden fruit, led to widespread corruption, violence, and a world spiraling out of divine harmony. It was a beautiful and terrible age, an era of marvels and monsters, a world so corrupted that it broke the heart of its creator and set the stage for a cataclysmic event designed to wash the slate clean. This isn't just a myth or a forgotten fairy tale. It's a crucial piece of a much larger puzzle, a story that provides a different context for the world we know. It asks us to consider, what is the true nature of temptation? Is it always about power and pride? Or can it also be about connection and desire? This story of the Watchers is a haunting echo in our collective history, a shadow narrative that runs parallel to the one we've been told. It suggests that the great conflict, the spiritual war for the soul of humanity, is fought not just on grand, cosmic battlefields, but also in the quiet, desperate longings of the heart, both human and angelic. In our next episode, we're going to pull back the veil completely. We will delve deep into one of the most controversial and fascinating texts ever written, the Book of Enoch. This ancient Jewish work, quoted in the New Testament but excluded from most biblical canons, tells the story of the Watchers in stunning detail. We'll explore who these angels were, the forbidden secrets they revealed, and the terrible judgment they faced. What did Enoch see in his divine journeys? Why was this book considered so dangerous that it had to be suppressed? We're about to uncover the story of the angels who crossed the forbidden line. A story that changes everything you thought you knew about the battle between heaven and earth. Thank you for watching. Subscribe my channel to view full next video about angels.